Okay, we're back. So good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Targeted Small Business Program webinar hosted by the Iowa Secretary of State and Iowa Economic Development Authority. My name is Ashley, and I'm the Business Services Outreach Specialist here at the Secretary of State's office, and I'm joined by Jacob, who's here with me as well, and he is the Communications Specialist for our office. So please be aware, first of all, that this webinar is being recorded for future use. Your name and video are hidden from other participants, and all participants will receive a link to rewatch the webinar. We will have a moderated Q&A session to conclude the webinar today, so feel free to post questions in the chat, and we will do our best to answer as many questions as possible. Supporting owners of small businesses is important, and both of our offices recognize that. We will continue to provide that support to those of you in the small business community and to increase the number of new small businesses in our state. Thank you, Amy and Kim, for joining us today. Amy is Program Manager and Kim is Targeted Small Business Development Manager at Iowa Economic Development Authority. And with that, I'll turn it over to both of you to go ahead and get started. Thank you.
Very good. All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us today. Again, as Ashley mentioned, I'm Amy Coolers. I'm the program manager with Iowa Economic Development for several programs, but today I'm going to be visiting with you. Kim and I will be visiting with you about our targeted small business certification and loan programs. I'm also going to give you a little bit of information about another program that has business resources that you might be interested in called Iowa Source Link. So if you're new to the Targeted Small Business Program, you're probably wondering what this is, and you may be new to it, but it is not new. It's been around since the mid-'80s, so it's a quite established program in the state of Iowa. It used to be managed by some other agencies. It was a unique partnership between 3 agencies. We did take that over completely in 2016 as it evolved and have done quite a bit of updates since that time. But more to the point, what is a targeted small business and what's the program about? So the Targeted Small Business Program was designed to help individuals that had traditionally had barriers to doing state procurement, getting financing, other things. These people who are in what we call a targeted group person or a targeted group class are minority individuals, and you can see the minorities that are identified there in the PowerPoint. You have to be located in the state of Iowa. You have to be operating as a for-profit business. That doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be profitable on the bottom line on your taxes. You just cannot be a nonprofit organization. You need to be a for-profit. And then your annual gross income for the business has to be $4 million or less averaged over the last 3 fiscal years. And some people laugh at that a little bit, but we do graduate people out. We not surprisingly regularly that do hit that threshold, and that's a great thing. So how or why, I guess basically why become certified? So there's, again, I'll talk a little bit about the state procurement because that's really what the program was initially geared for. But we have brought a lot of other attributes into the program. First of all, we do have a directory I'll show you in a minute. This is where you're listed when you become a certified target small business. And that is where purchasing agents will find you. They can go online and they can search you by your business if they know who you are, or they will search for you based on the types of services and products that you provide. This is also something that for-profit businesses are doing as well. Additionally, we do a lot of networking events that shut down a little bit, like everybody's life did during COVID, but we are back in the trenches doing that again to introduce TSBs to other TSBs and other small businesses and other small business resource providers around the state. We do have the loan program, which Kim will talk about in just a little bit. And then we also promote you in media, both social media and other methods. So I mentioned procurement earlier. That again was the reason that the program really initiated was to help businesses that fall into this targeted group class really be able to do bids with the government, state government. And a lot of people say this is not a very good benefit for me because I don't think I have anything that the state of Iowa would like to purchase. And I will tell you that the state of Iowa purchases absolutely everything. You'd be amazed at all of the different products and services that they do purchase. You can actually find that list online. The Department of our Procurement Services has a list of all of those types of products and the amount spent on them. So if you have a type of business and you would like to see what does the state buy that maybe I would be able to provide, you can go out and take a look at that list and see just what they did. So for example, here in fiscal year 2021, we don't have the new numbers yet. This is the amount of money that the state of Iowa purchasing agencies purchased through targeted small businesses. So over $39 million in goods and services. And I will say also that every state agency is required to set a goal to purchase from a targeted small business each year. So they have to set aside a certain amount of spending to be able to purchase goods and services from a targeted small business. They have to raise that goal every year. And so that just increases the amount of products and services that can be purchased through a TSB. I also mentioned that there is a directory. This is on our website. If you go out to our main website at ieda.com/TSB, you will see a link to this directory, and this is where our purchasing agents go out and they will search for you, and hopefully they will come up with your business so they can contact you to do some services. One of the nice things too about the TSB program, again, as I mentioned, as Alliant quotes here, they also, it's become very important in the last few years for small businesses, private small businesses and large businesses to have a supplier diversity program. So we're, in addition to seeing small businesses or purchases through TSBs just from purchasing agents in the state, we're starting to see a lot of interest from outside businesses that also come to the TSB directory, and they look up businesses that they may be able to use to help highlight their diversity goals. One thing this is the marketing. So these are some of the things we've done in the past that we have been able to do to help promote our small businesses. We've had several things in the business record locally here in Des Moines. I know there's people attending from all over the state, but we do social media push out. We do a lot of different things that's not just Central Iowa centric. That's just an example of another copy that we did. And we do, as I mentioned, networking events all across the state. We have one upcoming in Algona, Iowa. So for any of you that are in North Central Iowa, might be interested in attending this. This is open for all businesses, not just targeted small businesses. We like to get everybody there, especially when we get out into the rural areas of the state. And we usually have resource partners there, other people that can provide services to small businesses at no cost. So they're always a good opportunity to come out, meet other businesses, meet some service providers that can help you, and just network and have a good time. Very informal. So before I get into this, how to become certified, there's one other item that I missed here when we put the slides together. Is one of the other benefits to becoming a targeted small business is that when you do want to put a bid in for the state, or you are interested in bidding with the state of Iowa, one nice thing about being a certified targeted small business is you get a 48-hour window to be able to take a look at those bids before the general public, before that becomes available through the general public. So that gives you a leg up in putting together your bid and posting that. And the other thing I wanted to say, and I must have just missed a couple of slides in here because they're usually here, but the other thing I wanted to mention was for regular businesses, just everyday businesses that aren't in a targeted small business class, purchasing agents can purchase from them for goods and services that are under $5,000. So that means that they don't have to go out to a bid process. they could just go directly to that business and say, you know, I want to purchase this and it's under $5,000, and they can just use their Pro card and do that. When the Targeted Small Business Program started way back when, that threshold for TSBs was raised to $10,000. So that meant that purchasing agents could go to a targeted small business, purchase from them for goods and services of up to $10,000. When we took over the program in 2016, we decided that was a worthy goal, but we needed to increase that. So we did ramp that up to $25,000. So just note that if you, which covers a lot of things, you know, when you obviously, if you get into road construction and contracts like that, you're going to be looking at much higher amounts. But when you provide goods and services to an agency or department within an agency, a lot of times that spending threshold is under $25,000. So when you build a relationship with some of those procurement agents, you know, they may just call you on the phone and say, hey, I'm needing to purchase this. Can you give me just give me a quote for what it would cost to call, you know, for XYZ widget? And then they can just buy directly from you without having to go through a bidding process. So that's another benefit that you might be interested in. Okay, so back down to the slideshow. How do you become certified as a TSB? So it's a pretty easy process. We do have an online application. It's on our website again. You can just see it. You'll see it. It's on the same page as our directory that I just showed you. You just click on the online application. You fill out the application, and you will also be asked for documentation. And I will go over what some of that documentation is here just in a moment. But so you'll provide us with the application, you'll upload the documentation that's required. And then once we get all of that, we review that information here in the office. We take a look at it. If we have questions, we get back to you and ask you that, you know, we may be missing certain documents or we have questions on the application. We'll review that and get back to you, and then you can resubmit that application. Once we receive everything and everything looks great, ta-da, you get to be certified. And I neglected to mention that this is a free service. We did have a menial fee early on, but when we took it over, we decided we just needed to make this a free service. So it is free. It's one of the only certifications that I know of for small business, for TSBs. It is a free application. There's several national certifications you can get. Those can be quite expensive. And I will say that we have had targeted small businesses, for example, that have a food product that they had available in some of the grocery stores here, and they were actually able to market that to grocery stores down in Texas and beyond, to a grocery chain there, because they recognized our Iowa certification. So they didn't need to have any type of a national certification to get their products outside the state of Iowa into some of those other stores. So that's another great benefit, and free is always good, right? And some, you know, we always say, well, you get what you pay for, but in this case, it's a good thing. I will also say that if you don't want to do the online application, we do also have a link to a PDF application that you can download and print, and then fill that out, and then you can send that to us along with your documentation. We're happy to review that here as a paper application as well. So I'm going to go through kind of some of the steps here, but when you click the Start Application button on our website, it's going to bring up a page that's going to ask you 4 pretty basic questions. They are going to be, you have to answer yes to all of them. And that's the things that I told you. Remember when I said what you need to be qualified as a TSB, you need to be for profit, you need to be in Iowa, you need to have a certain level of gross income, and you need to fall in one of those targeted group classes. So you just, if that answer yes, and then you move on to the next step, which is creating your personal profile. And then that's where you create your name and password. And then you start filling out your application. So I'm just going to show you what the application looks like online very quickly. You'll see that there's 8 tabs. There's name and type, and you can just go through it. It's pretty self-explanatory. At the bottom, you'll see a NAICS code and an NIGP code. If you don't know what those are, that's okay. Those blue buttons are live, and you can search for those, and it's based on what type of product or service you have. And these codes are sometimes used by our purchasing agents to search for you. So if you know them, go ahead and put them in. It's not mandatory. Okay, so then there's also, then after this, you'll be putting in your personal contact information. We'll want information on who all the owners are, what your percentage of ownership is, what licenses and services you need. If you're a contractor, we need to see your contractor's license. If you're a A stylist will need to see your cosmetology, thank you, license, so if you're in food service, we need to see those licenses. So any of those things that are required by the state of Iowa, we'll need to see. And at the bottom there, you'll see the TSB service category. We also encourage you to put the types of services that you do provide, because that's another way that business or purchasing agents can find you when they're looking for a product or service. We go into operations, again, pretty basic questions that you need to fill out. And then this is where the documents page comes in. So this, we do have a standalone document that you can print off, but there are some required documents. We do need 2 years of taxes. If you are not currently in business, you just started your business, and so you don't have 2 years of taxes yet, that's fine. We just need your personal taxes. We really don't care what, we don't look at the numbers so much. We're verifying things like your address, so we can identify you as an Iowa resident. The business is in Iowa. And again, we look at that Schedule C if you've had that on your personal taxes. If you don't, that's fine as well. If you're in business, we obviously want the first couple pages of your federal taxes, and then the K-1 and some of those other forms that we'll be looking for. Documents for all applicants. Again, we need your proof of targeted group status. So this could be as much as a driver's license with the photo. It could be a passport. So there's several different things you can use. The tax returns, if your business requires liability insurance, we'll need that. If you have employees, we'll need your proof of workers' comp. Again, those licenses. If you've purchased the business in the last year, we'll need that purchase agreement to look at. And then everybody has to provide a signed and notarized affirmation form that you'll send in as well. And then there's other things that are specific to different businesses or business structures. So that's what the affirmation and authorization looks like. You'll fill that out, and you will get that notarized and sent to us. And when you renew, the certification is good for 2 years. When you come up for renewal, you will also have to provide this again. This is just again to affirm every 2 years that the information you're providing us is accurate and complete. And now with that, I'm going to turn it over to Kim and let her take on the loan for you.
All right.
Okay, I'm good.
All right, there we go. Do you want to put the full?
I want to. Yeah. Do you have to pull it up yourself, or am I just?
I think you can, because I.
Oh, you just.
You have it on your.
Amy, if you just pop into the bottom left corner,
Just
you can hit mute, and then Kim will be able
Good
to take it
morning.
over.
Thank you all for joining us. Like Amy and Ashley had said, my name is Kimberly Stevenson. I am the Targeted Small Business Development Manager. So I manage the micro loan program here at IEDA. So our micro loan program is eligible to those targeted small businesses. I know Amy did explain the certification. In order to be eligible for my loan, you do not have to be certified. So you do not have to be certified to apply for the loan. My loan is available to those startup and existing businesses. So we have a startup loan of $50,000. That's a low interest rate of 3%. And then we have a max term of 5 years. So the funds can be used for things like business improvements, working capital, purchasing of equipment, furnishings, inventory, and any other specific operating expenses that businesses may have. So the first step is when people reach out to inquire about our loan program, we do have them complete a pre-loan application questionnaire. This questionnaire gives me a little bit of information, background about the applicant, and also about the business, where we're at as far as if it's an existing business or if it's a startup business. It also lets me know what the intended use of funds are going to be. And then it lets me know if you are ready to go to the next stage, which is going to be completing the application. So this form will ask, do you have things like business plan? Do you have your financial statements? It'll ask about business bank accounts, personal bank accounts, taxes, and different things like that. That will help me identify whether or not I need to connect you with one of our resource partners. So if you are a business even a startup or an existing and you don't have your business plan, or you need help with your financial statements and projections and different things like that, we can refer you to an agency that we work with that they can help you create those documents, because those are required for the loan. So once I have this completed, we will schedule a phone call. We will discuss any questions that you may have, making sure that you're ready to move on to the next steps, which is going to be the loan. And then at that time, if you need to disclose any other information, you can do so then before we go into what the next steps of the process will be. So when we get ready to decide if we're ready for that next step or the application, I like for my applicants to know what they need the money for. How much do they need? Again, that's why that questionnaire is important. That way we can make sure that the targeted small business loan is a good fit for your business. How soon do you need the money? What does that look like? And how can you pay that back, or how soon can you pay it back? Again, we do have that 5-year max term, but some people are able to pay it off before then. And although we want you to be bankable, and that's one of our goals, is to make our small businesses who may not be bankable, we want you to be bankable. But if you're not, you need to come back in for a second loan. We can take a look at that after your initial loan is paid off. So again, the funds can be used for things like generating more working capital, if you want to invest in new employees, or even if you're in your current staff, into inventory or supplies, fix up your business space, or even just to do some marketing within your business. I think that's why it's a great thing that businesses are certified, because some of these things, being a part of that community, I think that's a marketing tool in itself, just being able to work with other targeted small businesses, and maybe you can utilize their services and vice versa. So that's why it's a good thing to be certified. Our startup businesses, because you're not operational, cannot be certified, but those who are in business, we definitely want to get you in that community so you can market your business and have it out there for people to use your products and services. The next thing is, what is your structure going to be? What is your business structure? And that's going to be for legal purposes, taxes, and then it'll also determine what documents you need to submit with your loan. What is the financial shape of your business? You'd be surprised at the number of businesses who don't really know the financial shape. And in certain situations, I understand that people get so caught up in trying to run the business or start the business that they may not see this as an important part, but it is very important to know what the financial shape is of your business. For me, it's just to know where you stand as far as what your needs are, because I don't want my applicants to borrow more than what they need. You don't want to create extra debt that you don't need. So I tell them that's why it's important for your required documents like your business plan. That way you can have a layout of what exactly your needs are, and you can borrow those funds. Again, once you pay that initial loan off, if you need to come back in for a second loan, then we would look at that once that initial one is paid off. So have you opened your business bank account? Are those finances separate? Have you gotten your EIN number from the IRS? And then are you filing your business and personal taxes in a timely manner? So those are the things that we want our borrowers to look at before applying to the loan. That way we can just be reassured that they know kind of what their starting point and standing position is. On that last one, it also asks what your personal credit will look like. So once we, and we'll discuss all this, we like for our applicants to be at a credit score of 600 or above. We do do a soft pull of the credit upon submission of your loan application during any of those phone calls, and usually it comes with your submission of your pre-loan questionnaire. If there are any issues that we may need to be made aware of, we can discuss that at that time. You can't have any active collections on your background. So the only thing that we don't pay attention to are medical related collections. Anything other than that would need to be taken care of prior to receiving funds. And that's because the targeted small business loan cannot be used to take care of any previous debt that the business or individual may have acquired. The next thing we're going to look at is going to be the debt to service coverage ratio. So again, my 3 things is once you're eligible, and we've had the discussion to make sure that we're moving ahead, is going to be the submission of your loan documents, the application and the required documents, making sure your credit score and payment history are where we need it to be. And then thirdly, we're going to take a look at the debt to service coverage ratio. So the debt to service coverage ratio for our microloan is a 1.25. Basically, that is just telling myself and my loan review committee that you have the ability to repay the loan without it being any hardship to you personally, or to the business itself. So we do look at your current income, we look at your personal debt, and then we also will take a look at your business debt. Projections are not used in this for our startups. When we are looking at existing businesses, we do look at your year-to-date profit and loss statement, and that is taken into consideration when we are calculating that debt to service coverage ratio. Right now, we are about 6 to 8 weeks for loan application process. Again, that's kind of from you submitting the questionnaire and to getting the application, to me getting the documents reviewed, and then meeting with my loan review committee to go over everything that has been submitted and them making their decision. I always stress to my applicants the importance of making sure that when you submit everything, submit it all at once and make sure that everything is complete. That way I'm not having to go back and forth with you to request additional documents, which can further make the process a little bit longer than it needs to be. So you just want to make sure that everything is complete. Again, during this process, you and I will talk a number of times. So if there's any questions that you have before you get anything submitted, you'll want to reach out to me again so we can kind of make that process smooth and seamless. So once that's submitted, we'll go over everything. I will reach out to my applicants just in case I have any additional needs or if I need clarification on anything that was submitted. Once everything looks good with the documents, the credit score, and that debt to service coverage ratio, I package all that up and then I take that to my loan review committee. So they will be looking at your projections, your business plan, financial statements. So we'll go in there. I'm going in as your cheerleader because if we can get you those funds, we definitely, want you to have those. I'm painting a picture that these funds are needed in order to start this business and make it successful, or just to be able to empower our existing businesses to grow and expand as needed. Any questions? So that's my process and how my microloan works. And then I think it's going to go back over to Amy so she can touch on some Iowa Source Link things.
I'm muted.
Before we get over to our Q&A questions, I just do want to have a moment to say those question and answer period, just go ahead, put your questions down in that Q&A button down at the bottom. And we're getting those and we're going to sift through those as we go. In the meantime, we're going to have Amy talk a little bit about Iowa Source Link, as Kim had said. Just wanted to get that out there. That question and answer period won't be until the very end.
Okay, can you hear me okay, Jacob or Ashley?
Yeah, we can hear you great, Amy.
Great. All right. Yep. Just briefly, I also manage the Iowa SourceLink program, which is a website providing resources to small businesses and especially to those businesses that are wanting to start a business and don't really know anything about starting a business. This is a partnership that's kind of unique. It's between the Iowa Economic Development Authority along with the John Papa John Entrepreneurial Center at the University of Northern Iowa. So we make a great team trying to make sure that we get all businesses and all stages of their business some solid content for what they're looking for. A lot of the people that we see come to our website are those folks that have maybe had a W-2 job their entire life and they have a skill set or a passion that they want to create and use to create a business. And so they're up Googling at 2 o'clock in the morning, how do I start a business in Iowa? Or using a browser of some sort. And then we've worked really hard to try to make SourceLink show up at the top of the page because like I said, it's nice. We have some really good Iowa resources here, and we can connect you to a lot of really great people. So again, this is just the Iowa SourceLink website. We are a connector website. We're a referral website. Neither I or the Papa John Center folks, my team there, we don't do direct one-on-one counseling with anybody. What we do is refer you out to the people in the state who are the experts in the area where you need to have assistance. And that's what we do. We try to do that personal handoff to another resource partner who can help you out without having to have any barriers in the middle of that. We have taken all of our content and developed about 8 or 9 guides that you can use in your business, ranging from starting a business guide all the way to exiting your business, and some things in between. And then in addition to that, we also have created specialty guides based on the type of interest that we're seeing come into the website. For example, just in the last year, we've created a guide on how to start a mobile food truck. That's been very trendy lately. We've done that. We've have a guide on nonprofit, how to start a nonprofit. I think there was a lot of actually nonprofits that were started during the pandemic. Another one is like daycare. We all know and hear about the child care crisis. And so we've had a lot of interest in that. So we continue to add content, but these are all downloadable. You can see them on our website at iowasourcelink.com, and you can download any of them. You can also go through them online if you'd like. As I mentioned, we are a referral partner. So what we do is we help connect you to the really good resources across the state. This has been one of the problems with Iowa, is that we have so many really good resources, and people get very confused about who they're supposed to talk to and what they're supposed to do. So we try to take that confusion out of the mix. And that could be for anybody in any stage of business. If you're not sure what person to talk to about maybe starting to get employees in your business, to try to start looking at an exit plan. How do I do those things? We can help narrow that down for you. And basically, we've got a directory. We've got almost 400 resource partners that work with us. And these are all people, all businesses, all service providers that provide business services. And they do it it's usually at no charge to you for the most part. So we don't have for-profit businesses in here. We don't list, any legal firms or accounting firms or anything. These are all service firms. And so we can do it so when you come in and search, you can do it by area of location. This particular search is done at Stuart. And so it pulls up the closest resources to the town of Stuart. You can do it by area of assistance needed, or you can just search in general. There's a lot of different ways to do it. And I will also say that if you just don't want to do any searching, or you get on the website and you're confused about anything and you have questions, just give us a call. There's a toll-free number, or just a number on the website, and toll-free numbers have kind of gone out the door since we all use cell phones now. But just give us a call. Our team at UNI, they're great at responding. They will get you directly where you need to go and help give you some in-depth answers to your questions. So don't feel afraid to ever reach out for any question that you might have. We're also home to the Business License Information Center. So this, just to let you know, in case you're not in business yet, or you're looking to start a business, maybe expand your business into another market area that may require licensing. There are a lot of licenses in the state of Iowa. We've got over 450 of them, and it's hard to know what you need. The state of Iowa does not have a general business license. We get that asked probably every day. What do I need to open my retail store? We just don't have a general license. What we do is we license per the type of business it is. So as you can see here, we have a group of, again, a very easy to navigate directory that goes out and searches all those for you. And we have a section called frequently requested. And these are about the 10 industry areas that people ask about the most. And of course, one of those is food service or restaurant. So you can see they typed in restaurant, we did a search, and these are just some of the many licenses that go along with the food service industry. So that is a very easy way to search for that versus trying to figure out what agency you need to go to. And when you click out, let's say you went to the food service established license, you would get to our web page that would give you information on that license and then who the licensing agent is and that contact information. And that pretty much summarizes what I wanted to talk to you about. I just really wanted to let you know that Iowa SourceLink is a great resource for you, no matter what stage of your business it is. The Secretary of State's office has been a great partner with us, trying to get people aware of the program through their mailings and emails when people get registered as a small business. And we really appreciate that ongoing partnership. But I think we're ready for questions now.
All right, Amy. So we already have a few questions that were kind of proposed in the chat. Kim, some of these are going to be for you as well. This first one I'm going to pose to both of you. Everybody can hear me, right? Okay, just making sure my mic was on, sorry. Question in the chat just got posed here a little bit ago. Can you kind of go over the different subjects, for example, the veterans with a disability, those kind of subtopics of the targeted small business program, and just kind of explain what those different levels or tiers are of kind of a selective group.
Yep, so,
It's me, I'll mute.
sorry about that. I see the question and it's asking, is this the one about the race minorities, our women and our disabled count as well? So yes, so those targeted group persons are going to be women, minorities, disabled individuals, and service disabled veterans. Okay.
And then we did have another question. I don't know if this is posed for one of you or for both of you, but really good question. What if you're not current on your taxes? What are some steps you can take to still be a member of the targeted small business program? But if you're not current, what do you do?
Okay, so sorry, we're just trying to take care of this echoing. So if you're not current, so for example, if you don't have your current year, if you have the year prior to that, then that's fine until you get maybe your current year's taxes, but we do need to have you current on taxes before you are certified or able to apply for the loan, because those are required documents for both.
Thank you, Kim. And then we have another question. This one's from Beth. Can the loans from the targeted small
You're muted.
business?
We can't hear you.
Oh. Sorry. Can the loans be used for agricultural business?
Still can't hear you.
Still can't hear me? Kim, you. One second here. We're just having a little bit of a technical difficulty with some sound.
So the attendees are able to hear. Yeah, because I see a couple in.
Kim, I can hear you fine right now.
Okay, there you go. Sorry about that.
Yeah. This one's more posed for you, Kim. Can the loans for the targeted small business program, can those be used for agriculture, such as value added ag that may need or require different types of equipment or resources?
Yes, the loans can be used for agriculture and then definitely for any equipment that may be needed. So yes.
Sweet. And then another one, Mindy actually posed a really good question. Can you recommend someone to help on projecting business loans? For example, a good fit for an accountant, which would help a targeted small business company?
Yep, so what we partner with, we partner with a couple of different agencies that will help our applicants work on those projections. We work with the Small Business Development Center, so we can definitely connect you with that agency. Just depending on the location of the business, we will connect you with one of the regional managers in that area, and then you can connect with them. You'll register for counseling with them and just let them know that you are working with the Targeted Small Business Program and that you are looking for help with your projections for your business. I don't have any accountants that I know of off the top of my head. I know they may have some. We work with a couple of other centers who may know of particular accountants that work directly with small businesses. That's something I would be willing to do some research on and see if I can get that information over to you.
Right, thank you. And someone did ask in the chat, will the recording be available after the presentation? Yes, it will. We're gonna have this fully recorded for you, and then we're gonna send a link out. Just give us a few days to get that done for you. Moving on, do we know what the interest rates are for loans right now, or is it kind of dependent on what you're doing?
Okay, there we go. So that's going to be depending on a couple of other different factors. I know for mine, my 3% is set rate, so that does not change. So it's 3% for mine. It's going to, of course, vary by institution, and then I guess what the intended use of the funds are and some other factors that may schedule or may factor in. I can only speak for my loan, which is a 3%.
All right. Do applicants have to like prove or provide any evidence of status for any of those targeted small business categories? For example, like the disabled veteran or the women minority owned business? Amy, I believe you're muted. Sorry.
We're trying to deal with our echoing here when we're sitting in the same room. That is definitely something we do need them to provide. We need proof of targeted group status. So like I said, in many cases, it could be as little as a driver's license, just to see a picture to make sure that you're a woman, for example, or a minority. In some instances, we can use a passport. If for a service connected disabled individual, we usually get a form from the VA for that. They'll have that. If they've already been identified with a disability, that should be something that an individual should already have. And then for a disabled individual themselves, that would be something that we would need a physician's note of some sort, declaration that there is a disability. And we don't have a percentage of disability. It seems like an odd thing. People ask us, do we have to be 50% disabled? And we really don't look at that so much. We just, we just want the proof. Once you have a physician or the VA signing off on the fact that you have a disability, we're going by their expertise and relying on that.
Thank you for that clarification, Amy. Sonia actually asked too, are there any entities that have like a Spanish speaking staff to help Spanish speaking only business owners?
Yeah. SBDC for sure.
So the SBDC would have that available for Spanish speaking businesses. I know here in our office, we work with a couple of different interpreters. We do provide some of the forms in Spanish for our Spanish speaking population. So to answer that question, yes. So ourselves and definitely the SBDC will provide that as well.
Thank you. And I kind of got a multifaceted question here. What's the maximum amount of TSB loan here in the state of Iowa? And sorry, that's the only part of the question.
So the maximum loan is $50,000.
Okay. And then are there any programs that help with like hiring or retention here in the state that you know of? Kim, I believe you're still muted.
Just to make sure you can hear me.
I can hear you, Amy.
Okay, good. As far as, are there funds to be able to help with that for just a regular individual, like a retailer service type business? There's probably not going to be any grant funds or anything to be able to help you through that process. I think that's, again, if you have, if you're wanting to look for funds to help pay somebody's wages, that's probably non-existent, as far as I'm aware, at least for any state funds. But that, again, is where you might want to visit with a local resource provider. There's the small business development centers are located all across Iowa. They are a subset of the Small Business Administration, and they offer free and confidential counseling services to businesses, and they can also help you identify, first of all, are you ready for an employee? Does your business cash flow look like it's something you can bring on? And then how can we help you? And then there's obviously things like workers' comp, other license and regulations that you'll need to do. Iowa Workforce can help with a lot of that. You can find a lot of that information on Iowa SourceLink when you get to that step, but it is a huge step to go from being a solopreneur to having employees. And we really applaud the businesses that do that, because that's how you grow, right? So if you want to do that and you're not quite sure and you're standing on the cusp a little bit, just reach out to us for help, and we can help you, maybe walk you off the edge of that cliff a little bit and start seeing some sunlight for you to move forward with that.
Thank you for the thoughtful reply, Amy. And then we got time for just a couple more questions here. Orlando provided a really good one. Can we provide the link to the procurement site? Yes, we definitely can. We'll actually send that in a follow-up email here following the webinar when we send out the full link. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you can access that from das.iowa.gov as well. Is that correct?
Yes.
Darla asked a good question as well. Do they need all of the qualifications to be a targeted small business? Like, do you have to be minority owned? Do you have to be a woman owned, or can you just be a targeted small business?
So in order to qualify, you do need to fall into one of those targeted group populations. And then I know Amy had touched on this, but I didn't. It has to be 51% or more owned by one of those targeted group persons.
I did not mention that.
You did? Okay, well, so yep, they have to fall into one of those groups.
I'm really happy that question got asked, because I had the same one myself. And then one more question here. Do we have the website available in any other languages other than English?
The website right now is only in English. We do have the application that is in Spanish right now. We're also working to get that in some other different languages, but for right now, it's just going to be the English and Spanish. I see the lady who is asking that question. If she reaches out to me or sends me a message, I know we do partner with, or the SBDC has a community college that they have translated a lot of our forms for. And so maybe I would be able to connect her with that if she is needing something beyond the Spanish translation.
All right. And then I got time for one more here. This one was posted in the chat earlier, but I thought he stepped out, so I was just going to have him shot an email. He's got a service industry organization that's kind of struggling with getting some state procurement stuff. They kind of own like a recruiting firm. Any tips for how they can do, or how can targeted small businesses, how could he kind of market himself better to the state of Iowa to kind of build his business?
Yeah, we have another state agency that's actually through the Iowa State University called CIRIS, Service Industrial and Research. They have a whole wing of their staff that does nothing but procurement. And they have what you call a PTEC staff that you can contact. And there's a staff person located in every region of the state. They will sit down with you free of charge and help you put together a capability statement. They can help you walk through a lot of the different things to make putting a bid together more clear, talk to you about maybe if you don't don't get a contract? How do you maybe subcontract with a primary contractor? So they just have a wealth of information. And Jacob, that would be an email that I can, or a link that I can send to you, so you can include that in your email, because I think everybody who's at all interested in procurement, that would be a great opportunity for them to be able to get some information. And I would also, not to muddy the waters here for this webinar, but we do offer a TSB Cirrus webinar, usually monthly, that you can also attend. Cirrus puts that information out, and you can also learn more about their services there. But that was a great question, because there is a lot of help out there for you that's free, that you can tap into.
And then I know I said one final question earlier. I'm just going to do one more because it's a really good one. How can banks partner with this program? A lot of times they have like low deposit cost accounts for businesses. Is there kind of a way that they can onboard themselves to partner with targeted small businesses and get that process going?
So we work with a lot of different banks, where for several different reasons. So some banks don't work with startups. We do. Some banks may be not able to take on the loan that the applicants are requesting, and then they always turn it over to us, or reach out to us. So we definitely are open to making any connections with any banks that are available, or who want to give us applicants that they may not be able to help, and vice versa. If I have somebody that I think may not be necessarily a good fit for me, and I feel that there's another one of our bank partners that maybe have some programming that's more appealing to them, then we can definitely develop that relationship, that where we're able to work together to get those needs met of the business owner. So yes, if they want to reach out to me, and they'll have my information, then we can definitely connect with them, just to open those lines of communication. And Jacob, I don't know if I'm supposed to answer it, but I see it and it'll be really quick. There isn't a time frame for when you need to own the business, but do understand that even if a business is sold, that you are still responsible to pay the debts of that business after it's been sold.
Say something about the husband and wife.
All right. And then just in the essence of time, we've kind of cleared most of the questions out. For those that we didn't get to, we're going to be sure to save them and then send an email as well. Kim, Amy, I just wanted to take a moment to thank you for your time today. Been wonderful insight on the Targeted Small Business Program. And hey, who knows, you might even see my little photography side hobby doing a few things here pretty quick. So thank you for your time. The Iowa Secretary of State's office really appreciates you joining our webinar, and stay tuned. We're going to have more of these throughout the year. We did them last year and we thought, you know what, these have been really beneficial, really a hit. So we want to keep them going. If you've got any ideas for future webinars, please don't hesitate to reach out to our office. You can reach out via Eventbrite and just say, hey, this would be a good topic. And then stay tuned to the pay report too. That's where we're going to announce most of them. But if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to our office at sos@sos.iowa.gov. Thank you for your time today, and have a great rest of your week and a wonderful weekend ahead.
Thanks.
Thank you.